If a narcissist suddenly disappears, don't relax. That silence is not peace, it's a trap. When they stop talking, they're not done with you, they're studying you, they're waiting to see if you break first. And here's the part nobody warns you about. The moment you feel the urge to check on them, text them, or make things right is exactly the moment they've been preparing for. Because a narcissist doesn't reach out, they lure. If even one of these signs feels uncomfortably familiar, pause here and hit like so more people can recognize this pattern, because awareness is how you protect your sanity. When a narcissist goes silent but stays visible online, it creates one of the most confusing and emotionally draining traps you can experience. Their silence is never neutral, it is never accidental. It is a calculated pause designed to pull you into a psychological chase. They know that attention, reassurance, and emotional checking in are your natural responses. So, they weaponize absence in a way that feels like punishment and invitation at the same time. They won't block you because that would end the game. They won't message you because that would give you power. Instead, they place themselves where you can see them, but cannot reach them, emotionally creating an uncomfortable imbalance. They might stay active on social media, posting stories, liking things, or even appearing online at the same hours you used to talk. These are not coincidences, these are signals. They are reminding you that they are still there and that you are still watching. This silence becomes a strategic test. They're waiting to see if you get anxious, if you worry about what's wrong, if you assume you've upset them. They want to trigger your self-doubt. Did I say something? Did I miss something? Should I fix this? The moment you begin questioning yourself instead of their behavior, the silence has done its job. In their world, silence is a fishing line. If you start checking their profiles more, refreshing your messages, or noticing tiny changes in their activity, they feel the tug. They don't need to message you directly because your focus is already pulled back toward them. They understand exactly how your mind works. They know you care. They know you're empathetic. They know you don't like tension or unresolved conflict. So they use this period of strategic quiet to let your imagination do the work. You start wondering if they're upset, if they're hurting, if they're moving on. All of these thoughts become pressure, and that pressure slowly pushes you towards sending that first message. This is how they regain control. Their silence isn't a break, it's bait, and they don't end it until you reach out and give them the emotional confirmation they were waiting for. When a narcissist begins posting vague, emotional, or self-pitying content, it's not because they're suddenly overwhelmed with deep feelings. It's because they've learned that your empathy is one of the easiest doors back into your life. They understand that you don't turn away when someone seems to be struggling. You lean in, you care, you try to help. And this is exactly why they craft these carefully curated, indirect cries for attention. They rarely express their emotions directly to you. That would require vulnerability and honesty. Instead, they use the public stage of social media to drop hints that something is wrong. They might share quotes about heartbreak, loneliness, being misunderstood, or feeling abandoned. They may post a sad selfie, a silent story, or a cryptic caption like, "Some people don't know what they lost," or "You never know who's fighting a battle. None of it is random." This is emotional bait designed to trigger your concern. They want you to think they're hurting because of you. They want you to feel responsible for their sudden sadness. And most importantly, they want you to break the silence first. This type of content looks vulnerable, but it's not vulnerability. It's manipulation disguised as softness. It's a performance meant to activate your nurturing side, because they know that if you see them portraying themselves as wounded or abandoned, you'll feel that familiar pull to check in, to comfort them, to ask if they're okay. They also use these posts to rewrite the narrative. By painting themselves as the victim in a vague, indirect way, they create the illusion that they're the one suffering while you're the one who walked away. This makes them feel powerful because it flips the emotional balance. You start questioning whether you misjudge them, whether they're genuinely hurting, whether you should soften your stance. And once you feel that emotional tug, the narcissist has already regained control. These self-pity posts aren't about expressing pain. They're about creating yours. They rely on your compassion to reopen the door they closed. And once you step through that door, they know the dynamic shifts back into their hands. When a narcissist starts reaching out indirectly, it's one of the clearest signs they're waiting for you to make the first move. They won't contact you in a direct, honest way because that would mean showing interest, effort, or accountability. Instead, they use sideways communication, subtle signals that keep them emotionally present without giving you anything real. One of their favorite methods is using mutual friends. Suddenly, someone tells you they asked how you've been, or they mentioned you yesterday. This isn't casual. It's intentional. They know the message will get back to you, and they want you to feel like they're still thinking about you, but are too wounded or proud to reach out themselves. Then there's the digital version of this. Random likes, old photo interactions, story views at strange hours, or quick reactions that don't require conversation. These tiny breadcrumbs are designed to remind you of their presence without giving you a full invitation. They want you to wonder why they're watching you, why they're engaging now, why they're so close but not initiating anything real. This emotional nearness creates tension, and that tension makes you more likely to break the silence. They may also orchestrate coincidences. You run into them in a place they know you frequent, or they suddenly appear online at the exact times you do. These aren't accidents. Narcissists are highly strategic when they want to maintain a connection without taking responsibility. They create moments that feel spontaneous, but the timing is too perfect to be random. Their goal is to stir curiosity in you, to make you think, maybe they're missing me, or maybe they're waiting for a sign from me. Indirect outreach gives them what they crave, control without vulnerability. They want you to be the one who opens the door, so they never have to risk rejection. They want to feel desired, pursued, and validated without having to say anything that exposes their intentions. Every small action is carefully chosen to keep them in your mind, to nudge you toward reaching out first, and to re-establish their emotional influence. They don't need to speak to stay in your life. They just need to stay close enough for you to feel their presence and far enough to make you chase it. When a narcissist leaves conversations or conflicts unfinished, it's not because they ran out of words or got tired of arguing. It's a psychological tactic meant to keep you emotionally hooked. Humans naturally crave closure. We want to understand what went wrong, what someone meant, how a situation ended. Narcissists know this. They know leaving things open and unresolved creates discomfort, and discomfort makes you chase answers. So when they suddenly stop mid-discussion, disappear in the middle of a disagreement, or walk away right when things get real, they're doing it to pull you back in later on their terms. They rely on the fact that you'll replay the last conversation in your mind trying to decode what happened. That mental loop is part of their control. The more you analyze, the more power they hold. They may drop heavy statements like, "I can't do this right now, forget it," or "we'll talk later," then vanish. These unfinished endings are designed to shift responsibility onto you. You're left wondering whether you should reach out, fix things, or clear up the tension. They leave emotional loose ends everywhere because it keeps you attached to the storyline. Just like a cliffhanger in a movie, they know you'll return to see how it plays out. This technique also protects their ego. If they end a conversation abruptly, they don't have to take accountability, explain themselves, or listen to your feelings. They maintain control by refusing completion. This tactic creates emotional imbalance. You're left with anxiety and the need to resolve things while they get to sit comfortably in silence. They know you're thinking about them, and that's exactly the point. They want you to feel compelled to reach out to finish what was started to soothe the discomfort they intentionally created. It becomes a cycle. They break connection, leave gaps, and wait for you to close them. In their mind, the one who seeks resolution is the one who cares more, and the one who cares more is easier to manipulate. By leaving things unresolved, they position themselves as the person you chase, and that chase restores their sense of power. When a narcissist starts breadcrumbing you through tiny digital signals, it's one of the strongest indicators that they're waiting for you to make the first move. Breadcrumbing is their way of keeping you emotionally available without having to invest anything real. It looks harmless on the surface, maybe a like on a picture, a quick reaction to a story, or suddenly viewing your posts after days of silence. But these little actions are not casual. They are intentional nudges meant to remind you that they are still around. They want to stay on your mind while avoiding the vulnerability of direct communication. Each breadcrumb is a controlled spark, just enough to keep your hope alive, but never enough to give you clarity. These gestures create emotional confusion. You start wondering why they're watching your stories, why they like to post from months ago, or why they appear online. Whenever you do, you try to interpret the meaning behind every small interaction. Are they missing you? Are they waiting for you to message? Do they want to fix things? That mental searching is exactly what they want. Breadcrumbs work because they activate your curiosity and your longing at the same time. Instead of letting the connection fade, these minimal touches pull you back into their emotional orbit. This tactic also gives them deniability. If you confront them, they can pretend it meant nothing. They can say, it was just a like, or you're reading too much into it. That's the beauty of breadcrumbing for them. It keeps you emotionally invested while protecting them from responsibility. They get your attention without giving their own. They get the feeling of power without taking the risk of rejection. They get to stay relevant in your life without offering anything meaningful in return. Breadcrumbing is their way of monitoring your emotional temperature. They want to see if you'll respond, if you'll reach out, if you'll show any sign that you're still attached. Every small action is a test to see if the door is still open. And when you react, even if it's just mentally or emotionally, they feel validated. This tactic is deliberately slow, controlled, and strategic. They are stretching out the connection while letting you do the emotional work. The truth is they're not reaching out. They're provoking you to reach out using crumbs instead of commitment because crumbs cost them nothing. When a narcissist suddenly begins displaying signs of improvement, it's rarely genuine growth. It is a calculated strategy to pull you back into their cycle. They know exactly how to mirror the version of themselves you always wish they could be. They may start posting about self, development, emotional maturity, therapy, or positive changes. They may talk to mutual friends about working on themselves, knowing those comments will get back to you. They might even adopt healthier language speaking about boundaries, communication, or self-awareness because they understand these words carry emotional weight for you. This isn't transformation, it's presentation. They're performing stability to regain your attention. They have a sharp memory for what you once begged for. If you ask for consistency, they suddenly appear disciplined. If you ask for kindness, they start showing compassion toward others online. If you ask for effort, they make sure the world sees them trying. None of this is for their own growth. It's bait. It's an illusion designed to tempt you into believing their silence was used for reflection instead of manipulation. They craft a version of themselves that feels safe, changed, and emotionally accessible. The hope they generate is intentional because hope is one of the easiest ways to reopen closed doors. This shift in behavior often appears right when you start detaching. They sense distance like a radar, and the moment they feel you slipping out of their control, they adjust their image to pull you back. It's not coincidence that they look healed the moment you stop chasing. They want you to question your decision to pull away. They want you to think maybe they get it now, or maybe this time will be different. That internal debate is where they regain their advantage. Their temporary improvement also gives them emotional cover. If you reach out, they can claim innocence. I wasn't doing anything. I've been focusing on myself. I've really changed. This creates a false sense of progress, making you believe reaching out might be safe. But the moment you return, the mask falls, the effort stops, the patterns repeat. Their so-called growth wasn't about becoming better. It was about becoming more convincing. They know how to shape-shift into the person you always wanted, but only long enough to draw you back into the cycle they never intended to break. When a narcissist starts using emotional bait like birthdays, anniversaries, memories, or shared milestones, it's because they know exactly how powerful nostalgia can be. They understand that you're someone who feels deeply, who remembers the good moments, who values emotional significance. So when they want you to reach out first, they pull on the threads that connect you to the past. They may post an old song you both loved, share a quote that resembles a moment you once shared, or reference something that only you would understand. These crumbs are not sentimental. They are strategic reminders meant to stir emotional longing inside you. They are trying to awaken the softer parts of you, the ones that miss connection, the ones that hope people can change, the ones that remember the warmth instead of the wounds. Emotional bait often appears around meaningful dates. They might post something sad or nostalgic on your birthday or around a holiday you once celebrated together. They may casually mention to a mutual friend that they thought about you knowing it will reach your ears. This selective storytelling is meant to make you feel like the bond still exists even though they aren't directly expressing anything to you. It's a subtle message that says, I'm still in your world, without them having to show vulnerability. They never risk direct rejection. They prefer manipulating the atmosphere around you so that you feel drawn to them without them lifting much effort. They may also use memory as a way to destabilize you emotionally. They know that recalling the good moments softens your boundaries. If they can get you remembering the laughter, the late-night conversations, the times they were charming and attentive, then they can make you forget, at least temporarily, the chaos they caused. This mental shift works in their favor because nostalgia weakens anger and confusion, making you more likely to reach out and reconnect. This tactic is all about emotional stirring. They want you to feel a pull, a pang of what if or maybe they still care. They know that certain memories have power, and they don't hesitate to use them as tools. Emotional bait isn't about the past, it's about influencing your present decisions. And when you respond to that familiar ache in your chest by reaching out, you step directly into the exact trap they designed. When a narcissist starts trying to make you feel guilty, responsible, or obligated for their emotions, it's because they are carefully setting the stage for you to reach out first. Guilt is one of their strongest psychological tools, and they know how to use it with precision. They may not say anything to you directly, but their behavior, their posts, their silence, and the stories they spread through others are all designed to create a subtle pressure on your conscience. They want you to feel like you owe them something, a conversation, an explanation, an apology, or a return to the connection. They paint themselves as the one who has been wronged, abandoned, or misunderstood, so that you begin to question whether you cause them pain. This questioning is exactly what they want, because guilt softens your boundaries and responsibility weakens your resolve. They may highlight your absence without saying it outright. Maybe they post quotes about loyalty, betrayal, or people who walk away too easily. Maybe they act wounded around mutual friends, looking sad or quiet, making it seem like the distance between you is harming them deeply. They create a narrative where you appear uncaring or cold, while they appear patient and forgiving. It's a setup that nudges you into feeling like the one who should take action to make things right. They know you don't like to hurt people, even unintentionally. They know your empathy can make you feel responsible for emotions you didn't cause, and they exploit that softness. This guilt, B-building phase often comes after their silence or breadcrumbing hasn't worked fast enough. When subtle hints don't pull you back, they escalate to emotional manipulation. They want you to think you've disappointed them. They want you to feel like the bond is suffering because of your distance. They want you to believe you're